guys, what is up? My name is Jojo and I'm your New Zealander living in the USA. Today I'm bringing you guys the mom tag, and I actually did film this intro, hence why I look a bit different, but I lost it, I deleted it. So clever me, I'm back. Anyways, I was requested by Danielle, aka Glamburger. I will leave her link below. Danielle, I hope that you enjoy my answers and my accent. If you are new to my channel, please like and subscribe. So anyways guys, let's jump into the mom tag. So for the sake of time, so I don't chew your ear off and you're like booing, I'm just gonna try and cruise through the questions as quick as I can, and I don't even have them pulled up. Bear with. Favorite mom hack. You know what, I'm a Kiwi, okay? I'm gonna say mum. M-U-M. My favorite mum hack would probably be coconut oil. I kind of discovered it with my second baby because he had really bad skin conditions. He was getting a bit of eczema, some red rashes. My first one never had it, and I just started loving coconut oil for my own beauty like routine. I would use it as a makeup remover in my hair, everything. And I just thought, you know what, why am I not using this on my babies? It's all natural, it's good for their skin, and I feel like it's something that you should have in your diaper bag because it really helps. And for me, even like I get quite bad eczema on my hands as well, and I can do this for me and Bubs. So my favorite mom hack would probably be the use of coconut oil. It's amazeballs. Okay, so most embarrassing mom moment. Okay, this would have been my second year being in the States, so we're in our third year now. And just when you're a foreigner in general, you kind of just already feel a little bit out of the loop of how things go, like especially with parenting. Like it's just a different culture all around. So I'm always in the process of trying to make friends. Like I shouldn't say I am. I'm very social and I love making friends, but I was kind of like in this place of trying to get to know these moms. So we all decided to go to Chick-fil-A for lunch, which is an awesome place to go when you've got kids because they can just go wild and be contained while going wild. And it was a busy lunchtime Chick-fil-A in quite a nice part of town. And so even that, I feel pretty like, where we live is a little bit more country in North Carolina, so people wouldn't consider it to be a nice part of town, even though I think it's awesome. But we were in like an official nice part of town, and we're in this Chick-fil-A. It was super busy. It wasn't huge, it was super busy. And this mum came up to me and she kind of looked disgusted, and don't mock me for the accent, okay? I'm gonna try my best. I think your child has taken off all their clothes. And I was like, you've probably got the wrong person. Like, sorry lady, you got wires crossed. Like, my children know to keep their clothes on, okay? So I go into the playground and I start walking, and it's chaos. Like, we're talking 20 kids packed maybe 20, 30 kids packed into this playground. And as I'm walking, I see a trail of clothes and a diaper on the floor, and I'm thinking, those are Hudson's clothes. That's my 2-year-old at the time. Those are Hudson's clothes. Great! No, just a little bit embarrassing. Nothing too bad. All the kids were laughing. He had no idea. He had stripped down completely to nothing. And I was watching out the window, and these mothers were looking at me in disgust, like mortified that I would allow my children to take their clothes off because somebody's gonna get sick and die from a kid walking around the playground, you know. I was just like, yeah, that's how we roll in New Zealand, okay? So that was probably my most embarrassing moment, but very, very cute at the same time. What part of the day do you love the most? 3 o'clock, because that is the time that the kids need to just wind down. I pop a movie on, they chill out, I go to my room, I have a cup of tea, and I watch something on my phone, or I catch up with people, or whatever it is. I get to have some downtime and my beloved cup of tea. That's my favorite time because it's kind of that time before we have to get ready for bed and have dinner, and it's that downtime that we can all just relax. What part of the day do you least like? Much like Danielle, I hate mornings, and as long as I can remember, I've always disliked mornings. My husband does not get it. He's always trying to push me out of bed at like 6 o'clock, but I'm like, no, let me sleep, otherwise I'm gonna get grumpy. So mornings I don't like. I have to sleep in, and if I don't, I'm a cranky pants. Okay, the worst thing someone said to you when you were pregnant. You know, people for the most part are really like tactful when you are pregnant. I don't want to say it was the worst thing, But I think I was having an off day, and this was only last weekend actually. I was having a bit of an off day, and when you're pregnant you're kind of feeling a little bit uncomfortable in your own skin, and just like you don't necessarily like your body because it's just not the same as what it was, so you feel like things don't fit right, and you kind of go through, and in general that morning I was like, I don't have anything to wear, like I hate my body, and just one of those mornings. And when I got to church there was one lady there, and she, for the most part, she's really sweet, but she said, how far are you now? And I said, oh, you know, I'm only 17 weeks. Oh, well, you're looking a bit further than 17 weeks. And I was like, gee, thanks. You know, I kind of took it personally, even though I don't think it was meant to be said in a rude way. I was just having one of those days. Baby name you didn't agree on. The first baby name that I can think of is when we were trying to name Lincoln. I wanted something American and quite strong because we were living in the US, we were living in New Zealand at the time. That's where both of my boys were born. They are like dual citizens. So I wanted something quite American and just something that you hadn't heard very often in New Zealand. It's becoming more popular now, but the name that we didn't agree on was Noah. So I really like that name anyways, but it's just something about it where I was like, no, my baby isn't a Noah. Like, and Isaac, my husband, really liked it, and subsequently I had 2 more friends that had babies around the same time as I did, and they had called their sons Noah. And so that's kind of, like I said to my husband, that's why I didn't want to call him Noah, because it's one of those names that is pretty popular. It's not a bad name, it's a great name, but I just felt like it wasn't the right name for my baby. Okay, do you co-sleep? Heck no. I want those kids out of my bed too sweet. My first one, I didn't co-sleep. I was pretty anti. I was like, the bed is mine and my husband's, stay out. My 5-year-old, he was awesome. He was very content with being in his own crib quite early on, and I had such a hard time with feeding with him, with nursing, that I needed to be as far away from him as I could, like but in a healthy way. Like, it just took a real mental strain on me. So to have him in my bed, I didn't want it, and he was happy with that. It was all good. My second, I actually did co-sleep with probably for the first 3 months. I didn't want it that way, but my second was the polar opposite, and the only way to get him to sleep and myself to sleep was to nurse him to sleep and for him to be next to me. And it ended up working out okay, because we got to a point where I was like, okay, I think he's old enough to like start putting him in his own bed. I think he was about 4 months. But in the beginning it was really hard, because I was like, my first one slept in his own bed fine, why is this one not cooperating? So co-sleeping was kind of something that I had to do for my own sanity. You do what you need to do when you've got a newborn. Okay, something you bought but never used. I would probably say a change table. There are so many baby things that are really gimmicky that you feel like you need with your first baby, but really all that baby needs is you and food, clean diaper. What they need is very minimal compared to what we think they need, and a change table is one of those things that's just ended up getting in the way. And my boys, they were pretty active from early on, and they were like, nah, not having this. So one of them, like my second one, even like turned over. He was starting to like twist over, and he almost fell on the floor. I did grab him, but at the time I was thinking, why do I have this? Like, this is pointless. I'm always changing them on the floor anyway. So a change table was kind of something that I didn't end up using. Hospital bag must-haves. I was thinking about this, and the thing that I can think of, it's gonna be real lame. I can't even really think about it. Okay, TMI, but they don't really tell you this, but when you have a baby, you bleed a lot afterwards, and I would probably say that my own kind of like good quality pads is what I needed. I needed good pads that could keep me cleaner and fresher for longer. Leggings actually were another thing that I was only comfortable in after giving birth. Just comfortable clothing, loose fitting shirts. I didn't want anything tight because your boobs get really sore, and you know, you've got a newborn, you just want to be comfortable. And then my third thing, so pads, leggings, probably nursing bras. Like, you kind of just want to be equipped for those things. Really, I didn't take any games or any snacks or anything, because I was like, I need McDonald's snack, you know, like that. I'm not like I'm a snacky person, but I'm really picky with my snacks, so I'm like, I'm not gonna pack my own snacks. There was nothing that I couldn't live without. I just know that I needed clothes easily accessible to nursing bras, pads and leggings. Okay, this is a good one. Are you a routine mum or a go with the flow mum, and what does bedtime look like? I am pretty much in between. I feel like I'm one of those people that I'm like, man, I wish I was organized. Like, I watch my sister and she is so organized down to a T. Like, she would schedule her daughter's nap times. 9 o'clock, okay, she's ready to get up. And I was like, oh my gosh, like my life is a mess. So I've definitely had those moments of wanting to be organized, but I look at me and I'm like, I think I'm too creative and too crazy and artsy and weird to be a routine person. Like, I like the idea of it, but I don't think I'm ever gonna be that. I have my days where I'm like, nailed it, got dinner on the table, kids are happy, this is a good day. So I don't have a whole lot of routine days. Bedtime, however, I am quite possessive of my time when my husband gets home, so I'm like, kids to bed. I like my routine when it comes to bedtime. What we do is we give the kids dinner between 5 and 6. We make them go and put their pajamas on because they're getting at that age now where they can put their pajamas on. They go and put their PJs on, we brush your teeth, and then we go and sit down with them in their room. We have like a little reading nook. We go and sit down with them and we read a story, a couple of books, and then we it'll go between me and my husband, like whoever's kind of feeling it or not feeling it. If I'm at home with the kids all day, my husband will tag team and come home and put them to bed, tuck them in, say prayers and learn about their day. They're adamant that they want their days learned about, even though you're with them. It don't matter. They want to tell you about their day. And then when you do tell them, they'll say something like, I went to preschool, and I'll be like, no you didn't. I went to grandma and grandpa's. No you didn't. So you just roll with it because they're so cute. Okay, what type of labor did you have? What pain relief did you have? Did you choose? I'm going to try and cruise through this question, and it kind of applies to both boys because both pregnancies and labors were very, very similar. Labors were very quick. With Lincoln, I didn't really even know I was in labor. It happened pretty much around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I was having kind of like what felt like period cramps. He was on his due date, which was a miracle. It was so amazing that he came on his due date, 23rd of October. I started having like period like cramps in the afternoon, but they were easy enough to talk through. I didn't even think about being in labor, and you have a lot of those in your 3rd trimester anyways. And then nighttime kind of came around. My husband and I went to the video store because that's what you do. I'm pretty sure they're still going in New Zealand, not so much here in the States, but in New Zealand probably. We went to the video shop, picked out some videos, and I was like, ew, that was a little bit more painful. I remember bending down looking at some videos thinking, this could be it. I was feeling the pains more like closer together and they were a little bit more abrupt. And then when we got home, we sat down, tried to watch some movies, and with each movie, we got through about 2 movies. I think by the 3rd or maybe even by the 2nd movie, I was in pretty intense pain to the point that I couldn't watch it. So I pretty much did all my laboring with Lincoln at home. And throughout the process, I was like going to the bathroom a ton because basically it's your body's way of clearing itself out, ready to give birth. And then the last thing, I kept calling my midwife. I was like, am I ready to come in? Am I ready to come in? Because I know that they will just send you home if you're not far along enough for them to deliver. And my midwife said, you're talking through the contractions, you were fine. And I was like, okay, well, I trust you, I believe you, kind of thing. It was my first kid, I didn't really know any different. So, and then I went to the bathroom and I heard this pop, and I could literally feel my son's head coming down, and I called out for my husband. It was like 2 in the morning, and I was like, call her now, like it's time to go down. Like it was kind of a shock for all of us because it was that fast, and laboring I was just able to get through. Not easy, laboring is very difficult, but I felt like mentally I was really geared up for it, and I knew what I was kind of getting myself into. It was like 2 or 3 in the morning, and my husband was stopping at all the lights. I was ready to push in the car, like it wasn't good. By the time I got to the hospital, my midwife was like, I'm so sorry, Joe, I'm so sorry. And I was like, well, I don't know, like I didn't know that this was how it was meant to go. By the time I got to the hospital, Lincoln came out in about 10 minutes time. His was super quick. With Hudson's, we were actually living with a friend at the time because shout out Jess and Jed, you guys are awesome, freaking love you guys. back in New Zealand. They were also pregnant with their second, and we didn't really have a home at the time. If you live in New Zealand, you know about the renting situation, especially in Auckland. It's really rough on families, and we were one of them. We were kind of stuck between not having somewhere to live, and we had to live with our friends at the time. And the night that we found a house, I went into labor, and we were living on our friend's like office floor. Lincoln was in the next room. Lordy. So yeah, we've got a great life. I'm grateful for all the seasons, really. Hudson was a week early, so I wasn't really expecting him to come that early. So Hudson was the 22nd of October and Lincoln is the 23rd of October. 2 birthdays together, nice. So I was watching YouTube, felt a niggle, and I was like, okay, well, I'll time it and see how it goes. half an hour later, I was like, there it is again. And I was like, okay, well, I won't wake my husband up yet. I'll let him sleep. There it was again, half an hour later. And I was like, okay, no mucking around. I called my midwife and I said, I'm having contractions. What should I do? And she said, well, call me when they're about 10 minutes apart, and yeah, we'll go from there. And I kid you not, within another half an hour, 45 minutes, the contractions were 5 minutes apart. They were so tight, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is fast. It was almost like the contractions came a lot quicker than Lincoln's. And she called me and she was basically like, you come in when you're ready, like you're gonna know this time around. So I went straight to the hospital. It was great. I was very relaxed. My husband was very awake. He knew where we were going. He was very relaxed. And we got into the room, and as I was sitting in the hospital, all these midwives were walking past me. Like, this is at like 11 or 12 at night, so there wasn't really anybody else there. There's women walking past me thinking, should you be here? Because I was sitting there like smiling away, all happy. I was good, and I was like, I'm great. And then there was a room in front of me, and I could hear this poor lady screaming in agony, and I think from what I understood, her labor just wasn't progressing, and she had been there for a long time. And I come in all happy, smiling. My midwife checks me and I'm 8 centimeters. So I was like, dang, I'm one of the lucky ones. I didn't have any pain relief with either of them, not by choice. I always stress that I'm definitely not one of those like crunchy blah blah blah, like I eat crap and I love crap and I feed my kids crap sometimes. So I'm definitely not a crunchy mum. I'm just, my body's built for it, and I'm so grateful for that. I can give birth very easily and without pain relief. I was offered the gas. That's a very common thing in New Zealand, to be offered a gas. I think it's just to take the edge off. But I refused it because I was like, I've heard that it gives you nausea, and I already wasn't feeling great with Hudson. Like, I felt not nauseous, but like I needed to poop all the time. It wasn't comfortable, so I was like, nah, I'm gonna skip the gas. And the only thing about Hudson is that he took a lot longer to push out, and I think it was because our life situation was really hard. I was very mentally and emotionally very drained, and I had a harder time pushing him out. So his birth would have been about 45 minutes as opposed to Lincoln's, which was 10 minutes. So I was telling a girlfriend the other day that when I gave birth to Hudson, I was so stressed and I couldn't gather my thoughts. I was really, I found it really emotionally hard to push him out. And our life situation was really crazy. I didn't have anywhere to take my baby. We didn't have a home. Like, it was really, really unsettling. And I was watching YouTube, and all these American mums were fixing up their beautiful nurseries, and I was just like, I can't nest, and it's driving me crazy. I'm living on a friend's floor. Like, it was emotionally really tough at the time. Even though we had an awesome time living with them, that kind of made up for it because our friends are great and we had a blast living together. But in terms of not having anywhere to bring my baby, that was really, really hard. And when I gave birth to him, I was telling my friend this the other day, I felt like a weight just completely lifted off, and it was complete peace. Like, I cannot explain it, but the moment that I held Hudson in my arms, it was like, it doesn't matter. Like, it actually does not matter that I have nowhere to live at the moment. I was going back to my mum and dad's house, so I knew I was going to be looked after. But in the end, I was like, my baby doesn't need a fancy nursery. He doesn't need all the bells and whistles that I think I have to give him. All he needs is me and my husband. And so it was like this overwhelming peace in my heart, and I was so I just burst into tears because I was like, he's here, like I don't have to worry about any of that anymore. And it was like, it was the best moment that I've ever experienced. So sorry, that it kind of makes me emotional because like what I think my kids need just really isn't it. Like they're kids, they're so innocent, and I think all they need is the security and the love of a mum and dad. So yeah, that was just one of the best moments ever. Okay, what's the next one? Okay, have you ever been mom shamed? Oh man, like I don't know. I don't even really know what that means, because I feel like I think I've shamed other moms, but I haven't, like, I'm pretty tactful about saying things out loud. I haven't said anything, but I definitely have those moments of like, oh my gosh, why is she doing that? And I bet other people have done it to me. But in terms of like being directly mom shamed, I don't think I have been. Since living here in America, I've noticed that people do things quite differently. So, no, I can't even say that I've been mom shamed. I can definitely own up to the things that I've thought about other mums, but nah, I make good friends. The biggest challenges you faced since becoming a mum? Probably patience has been my biggest challenge. I didn't think that I was a very impatient person until I had kids, and until I have a 5 and a 3-year-old sons who really push me every single day, push me over the edge. Anything else that comes up and I'm like, can't do this. Shoo, I'm trying to deal with my kids and deal with my mental well-being. So anybody else's crap, I'm like, nah, move along. I'm doing this right now. So in terms of like the mental challenge has been patience. My husband is so great. He's a lot more patient than me. My kids, like, if I wake up and I haven't had enough sleep and they ask me for one thing, I'm like, leave me alone. If you have little kids, it's like, Mom, can I have? And I'm like, why don't you just say good morning to me? Or why don't you just say, Mum, can I get you something? Instead of, Mum, can I have? So probably patience has been my biggest challenge. Being a mum actually just brings all this stuff out in you. Even when you think you've got something down and you're like, yeah, I'm good, I'm a perfect human being, you are not until you have children. You do not know your own faults until you have children. Okay guys, I'm just throwing that out there. The best advice you have been given and biggest piece of advice you'd give to a new mom? That is such a good question. So the best piece of advice that I was given is, with my first son, nursing was a nightmare. It was awful, and I persisted. I kept at it because I was like, this is what's best for my child, and breast is best. And it's almost like anywhere you go, I think anywhere in the world, it's like, this is what you need to do for your child. If you formula feed them, they're going to grow up with this and this, and there's all these statistics about how your child's going to be this and this. And so formula was basically of the devil, and breast was best, and I just had to keep persisting. It was horrible. Turns out both of my sons had tongue ties. We did not find the first one's tongue tie until he was about 4 weeks. By then he had basically chewed my nipples off to nothing. He was feeding on blood. I praise God that he's even still alive, because I did not know that he wasn't getting fed what he needed. He was still sleeping somehow, but it would be in like 15-minute increments, and then he'd be awake to feed for I didn't know that you didn't have to feed your child for an hour on one boob. And I understand that now. It's because he wasn't getting what he needed from me, so I would have to sit down for like 2 hours and try and nurse him, and in the end it was miserable. He had destroyed me. I was in so much pain and mentally unable to do it. I did eventually have his tongue tie fixed, but it took way too long. But my second, I was able to feed him for almost a year, but my first one, it was awful. And I can't stress that enough. Nursing, there's so much pressure on it. And it was not until I was sitting at church and the pastor's wife came up to me and she was like, so Joe, how are you finding everything? Like, how's it going? How's nursing going? And I'm like, man, I'm not gonna lie, nursing is horrible. I hate it so much, and it's making me resent this kid as well. I was like, I hate it, and I don't know what to do. And she said, well, you know, I've got a friend, I'll go grab her. She's a plunket nurse. And I was thinking, no, like if you live in New Zealand, plunket nurses, they're awesome, and we have such a good care system there. It's amazing. You have your midwife come and see you for like 5 weeks. She comes to your house, she weighs the baby, make sure everything's going okay, and then afterwards you have to take your baby to the plunket nurse. For the most part, I found that a lot of plunket nurses did not have children, so what they're teaching is kind of out of a book, which is fine, I get that. But sometimes there's a bad reputation around it where it's like, well, a plunket nurse is only going to tell me what's best, and I already know that breast is best, so I don't want to talk to a plunket nurse. Like, that's kind of how I was feeling. This plunket nurse, this sweet little lady, she was a little bit older than me. She came and sat down next to me, and she was an English lady, and she was like, so how's it going, Joe? And I was like, I hate it. Like, I feel terrible. I feel like I cannot be a good mother. I feel like I'm failing miserable at life because I can't feed my kid. And she was like, just put him on formula. It was like this beacon of light. I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, just put him on formula. Why has nobody told me that formula is okay? Or, you know, like my midwife hadn't said it. Nobody, it was pushed on me to breastfeed. And even my husband was like, we've got to breastfeed. And when she told me to formula feed, I was like, you're right. I can't keep putting myself through this. So we formula fed, and I haven't looked back. It was amazing. I only wish that I had done it sooner. In terms of advice for a new mother, it kind of goes hand in hand with that story. You are the most important person when you have a baby. You are the it person. You need to find ways to take care of yourself first. Don't be afraid to ask for help. That was one thing that I felt like I wasn't very good at, because in my mind I was like, nope, or my mother, my grandmother, blah, 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 they've all done this without help. And I'm like, that's a bad way to think. You can't do it alone. It takes a village to raise a child, and you are the #1 person that is going to keep that person alive, your mental well-being. If you need to put your kid on formula, I'm sorry for those that don't agree with me, but you do it because your mental state is all that matters. I was so miserable with my son that I wasn't eating. I wasn't producing enough milk for him because I wasn't eating. I wasn't looking after myself because I was too afraid to ask for help. For new mums, I would just say, do whatever you need to do to take care of you first. Who's your mom crush and who do you tag? Okay, in terms of tagging, I'm still very new with my subscribers, so I don't really have anybody to tag, but I still really want to hear your mum tags. If you've got kids, please put a video up, because it's so fun hearing everybody else's experiences of just having kids. I really love hearing Danielle's because her boys are older now, and I kind of glean off it, because I'm like, wisdom. I cannot imagine my boys growing up. I look at them and I'm like, no other woman is allowed in your life. Capiche? I am the it person. Just stay away, ladies. They are handsome kids. So if you're a mom, just do a video, throw it out there, because I want to hear your story, and tag me as well, because I want to hear your story. It's going to be awesome. My mom crush, you know, I was thinking about this, and I was trying to think about personal people in my life, and then I was trying to think about celebrities, and celebrities kind of feels pointless because you don't know them. But one of the people that I really I like the look of, I shouldn't say that she's a crush, I like the look of. I don't know her personally, I don't know her personal life, but I hope that I can look after myself the way that she does at that age. Candace Cameron Bure. Okay, I'm just gonna leave it there. She's a hottie toddy, so she might be like my mom Hollywood crush. It's kind of a weird question. I'm trying to think of, like, because there's all these different attributes. It's like, yeah, I aspire to be like a celebrity mom, but I don't know them. They're still human beings. They probably scream and yell at their husbands and kids as well. In terms of my mom crush, I have a friend back home, and I aspired to have her patience. I think that would be an attribute that I crush on, because I'm like, that is something that I struggle with. You are so amazing, the way that you talk with your kids and handle them, and you just keep your cool and your patience. I aspire to that kind of thing. So that is the mom tag. I hope it didn't go on forever and I didn't ramble. Danielle, in terms of your question, like what the care is like in New Zealand, it is so different to here. Like, I kid you not, with all the health insurance stuff here, I walked away from this pregnancy, because I'm pregnant with my third, and I was like, oh my gosh, Lord help us, we have to sell our house. Like, I get why people wait because it is financially really tough. In New Zealand, however, kind of every time you get paid, a portion of that is taken out for your taxes, and then that all goes towards healthcare, roads, playgrounds, like all that kind of thing. Government run kind of thing, so all our healthcare is free. You don't pay anything to have a child, well, not at least up front, and then they are free to take to the doctors up until they're a certain age. Even when I went to the doctors, I only paid like $15 for antibiotics, $5 for antibiotics or something. Like, everything is subsidized, so you don't pay to have a child straight up, and the care is amazing. The only thing is that because I gave birth with Lincoln so easily, I was very low risk. I was put in a room with about 4 other people. One baby had colic, so they kept me up when I was really struggling to feed. So that wasn't ideal, and I had a couple of bad experiences with him being in hospital in like a public kind of setting, but otherwise the people are great, the food is great, the care afterwards is phenomenal. Before and afterwards is amazing. I had one midwife with both of the boys, and I loved her, and she delivered the boys, she prayed with us. Like, it was a really special time. With Hudson, like I said, that moment that he came, I knew what I wanted, and I went to a little town about 45 minutes outside of Auckland called Helensville, and I went to a little birthing centre there. I didn't have to pay anything, so I gave birth to Hudson in hospital, and then that same day I was transferred to this birthing centre, and my husband and I were able to stay there for 2 nights. It was like a little honeymoon with a new baby. Feeding was really great. We were able to get the care that we needed for him with a tongue tie, and the care, all I can say is I hope that I have that good of care here in America with this baby. I'm a little bit nervous about it. In my experience anyways, I was well looked after. So that's pretty much the rundown. Both of my boys were born there, so Waitakere, we're sad. So thank you guys so much for watching again. Please like and subscribe, and join me for my next video. See you later.